Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another video with Hypnotherapy Training International. I'm Idan Or, and we have Dr. John Butler here today with us. Dr. John Butler, they often say that the only journey is the journey within. Can you tell us a little bit about self-discovery, understanding who we are, what we're about, what we're meant to do here on the planet whilst we are here, and how does hypnotherapy help us to go through these different stages in different time of our life and learning, which it's all what we seem to be about these days.
Okay. Well, thank you, Idan. I wish I had the answer to all of that. I'll let you know when I'm enlightened, when I've achieved that total realization of the self. Anyway, self-discovery, self-understanding is such a big part of life, whether we're aware of it or not. The unexamined life is not worth living, as the Greek philosopher said. We deal a lot in therapy with problems to do with the self, alienation, as the psychoanalyst would say, self-rejection, low self-esteem. Yeah, we have so many words describing or involving the term self. And in the vernacular, people say, he's very selfish without really often understanding what that might mean as we go deeper into it. Selfless. Religion also has these different perspectives and views on this very multifaceted item that we're calling the self, which changes as we go through life. Our view of ourselves changes at least. And so, who or what is the self? Is a journey, it's a process. Again, hypnotherapy provides tools, understandings, keys, and above all, choices, because people often feel I'm lacking self-confidence, and they say with great confidence. So that energy that's expressed as belief is into a lot of negative beliefs about themselves. So there's a lot of negative confidence where that energy could be flowing into a different feeling about themselves, a so-called positive confidence, which is what people usually mean by the word confidence. To know ourselves, of course, is to be able to know others and know the world, to see reality out there. Otherwise, we're looking at through our own feelings, beliefs, biases, prejudices, imagination, so on. And all of these, of course, are necessary part of our lives. But nevertheless, we are not really seeing a abridged, unvarnished view of life. The projections we make can distort greatly our ability to see life and connect with life and with people. So within hypnotherapy, we want to take ourselves on that inner journey, which we're all on anyway, whether we're aware of it or not, to find ourselves, to know thyself, which allows you to know your purpose. So your goals then are not just unhealthy, maybe compensatory goals, through connecting to more and more with yourself, your inner power, because we realize as we go into it, it is a different level of power and understanding, the so-called subconscious levels of the mind. And they are not restricted to just automatic reflexes or the negative destructive forces of the id, as Freud described it. There's a creativity within human nature, of art, literature, music, of philosophy, of spirituality and religion for people who have that perception and belief. So as we learn about ourselves, we know our purpose, directions in life much more. And as we look into the self, of course, it's a very slippery concept, as it's often said, because there's layers of the self, and it's changing in situations. We're often told about situational determinants of ourselves, of our behaviors, and so on. And that's made much of in sociology and psychology. Of course, it's true, but it's also more a negative reflection on the level people often allow themselves to be manipulated and not to be in touch with themselves, to know from within. So they're just following other people's opinions and beliefs a lot of the time. Much of the self then is conditioned. We have the familial and tribal self, and the self that is governed by our experiences over time. But we're carrying much of that early self-perception, which we got from parents at an early stage, a social self. Now, none of that is wrong in itself unless it's been very destructive and toxic. And then we need to change those narratives and scripts about ourselves, which we can do. Because at the end of the day, as the saying goes, their programming and getting triggered and reinforced all the time until we begin to take control of them. Words that are also often associated with the self are identity, personality, and so on. They have different shades of meaning within psychology and philosophy and in the public perception. In psychology, we talk a lot about self-schemas. It's sort of like templates with scripts attached that we run our lives with and we see the world through. And we need those predispositions. They're called stereotypes as well. They can be negative or positive, but they're not reality. But they're not always negative, and we can't live without them. So we have to learn how to use those self-schemas effectively. And we have what's often called, more at the core of it, the self-concept, how we see ourselves, our self-perception as acceptable, good, lovable, unlovable, and many other factors to our perception of ourselves, which is often not very accurate, as the studies tell us. People from outside ourselves who may not have a great deal of self-awareness or even awareness of us, but they may be more accurate about how we will behave, predicting our behavior, than we are ourselves. So we've often said that man is alienated from oneself. One's real life is the life one does not lead, as it's been said, or je suis un autre, as the famous French poet Rimbaud said. We are always something, somebody else. So there's a great deal of importance in understanding the self as best we can as we go through the layers, through the levels, through self-hypnosis, for example. It's a meditative state of a very profound nature, and then beginning to make changes which are very necessary to tackle aspects of the self. Otherwise, we're running on that subconscious programming. And as the Buddhists would say, sometimes that's been sustained over many lifetimes. We have predispositions. In other words, we have programming and conditioning that's going back to great periods of time. Whether you believe that or not, we certainly see it in everyday life that the childhood programming and conditioning very often has distorted the self-concept and the relationship with the self, and how then people live their lives, whether they feel worthy or unworthy, or are full of self-hatred, or feel much more self-empowered, self-nurturing, self-aware, self-expressive in life. Hypnotherapy gives us, once again, tools, understandings, keys to unlock the self, the power within, to connect more and more with it, to use it for our lives. I hope you will take the study of yourself properly for your life, and by all means contact us and do yourself a favor. Come on a course where we go into the subject in depth. We have a course coming up of analytical hypnotherapy, which is very much analyzing the self through hypnotherapy. So please feel free to look at our website, hypnotherapytraininginternational.com, or connect up with us by phone or other means. And we're very happy to give you information on our courses and training program generally. Thank you very much for listening and watching.